Okay, so this is day 2 of the second distance learning packet and the math section. So for day 2, we do have a task, and we have 2 different animals, and we have some information about how many acorns they are collecting. And it says the chipmunk hid 3 acorns in each of the holes it dug, and the squirrel hid 4 acorns in each of the holes it dug. They each hid the same number of acorns, although the squirrel needed 4 fewer holes. How many acorns did the chipmunk hide? So it would be the same. How many acorns did the squirrel hide? Because it says that they hid the same number. So how many acorns is that? So if we look at the title, this is 8th grade expressions and equations. So the idea is when you should write an equation to represent each of these cases, each of these animals, and then solve it algebraically and find our answer. It's not the only way to do it. You could just do just draw it out. So we have the chipmunk. Okay, that's his situation. And the squirrel's over here. And you just draw the holes. So just start off with, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's just say 8 holes. So the chipmunk put 3 acorns in each of those. So how many total is this? So 3 times 8, that's 24. And the squirrel has 4 fewer holes. So if the chipmunk has 8, the squirrel only has 4. But in each of that is 4. So how many total acorns would that be? That's 16. Okay, so that needs to be the same number. 24 and 16, they're not the same. So you keep doing this over and over until you arrive at an answer. Okay, so let's just do a few more and let's see what we get. So if I do another 8, let's just say. Okay, so it's again 3 in each, right? 3 in each. And we have 3 times, so it's 4, so 3 times 16. 3 times 16, so 16 holes times 3 acorns in each hole, that's 48. Okay, so the squirrel can only have 4 less than the chipmunk. So what would that be? So the chipmunk had 16 holes, the squirrel can only have 12. Okay, so then there's 4 in each. So 4 times 12. 4 times 12. So there's 12 holes times 4 in each hole. That's 48. So that's exactly what we want. So we just got lucky. Okay, good guess, honestly. But there's our answer. So how many acorns? 48. Okay, so let me show you how to do this algebraically, because ultimately that's what we really need to be able to do. I mean, the numbers could be huge, so drawing it out just is not very practical. So let's write an equation to represent both of these situations. So the chipmunk, I'm thinking kind of like a linear equation. So just kind of basing it off of y equals mx plus b, where y is the answer that we're looking for, the number of acorns, and then x is the number of holes. Okay, so let's just kind of reason this through. So the chipmunk, we can figure out the solution by taking the number of acorns per hole, so that's our rate, so 3 times the number of holes, x. Okay, so the number of holes was 16. 16 times 3 is 48. Okay, so over here on the squirrel side, we have y equals, now this one's a little bit different. So we have 4 per hole, just like 3 for the chipmunk, but this time we have 4 fewer holes. So we have to subtract the number of holes, which is x, by 4. Okay, so it's just 4 fewer holes than the squirrel. So let's just see if this works though. So if I if I put in the same x, okay, so x was 16. 16 minus 4 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48. Okay, so that works. So now let's see how we can get that 48 from these two equations. So basically the question statement says we want the same number of acorns. The number of acorns is y. Okay, so that's this right here. So y or all of this must equal all of this. So let me rewrite that. So 3x equals 4 times x minus 4. Let's simplify the right side. So 4x minus 16, 3x on the left. So now it's an equation, variable on both sides. I'm going to, even though it will result in negatives, let's subtract 4x from both sides. That becomes 0, so we don't have x on the right side anymore. We have negative 16. Okay, on the left side, 3x minus 4x is negative 1x, or negative x. I'm just going to put the 1 there. Okay, and then we're not done because we're not solving for negative x, we're solving for positive x. So we have a negative 1 in front. We need to divide both sides by negative 1. Or we can multiply by negative 1. And that makes a 1, positive 1. So negative 16 divided by negative 1. You could do that with a calculator, or we just know negative divided by negative is a positive, so x equals 16. Okay, so you'd be tempted to, circle that. That's your answer, right? Well, no. X is the number of holes, but we want to know the number of acorns. So we're going to take that 16, and then we're going to just drop it into one of these equations. It doesn't matter which one, because we're going to get the same answer. So if we use this one, if we put a 16 there, we get y equals 48. Over here, we get y equals 4 times 16 minus 4 is 12. So 48 is our actual answer because we're asked for the number of acorns. So it does seem a little bit complex, but this is just a system of equations. It's just two lines on a graph, and we're looking for the point where those two lines cross. And that's it. So it's like 16 comma 48. That's where those two lines cross. So you can use Desmos to graph it. But again, whatever method is easiest for you or you're the most comfortable with, that's what you should use. Okay, moving on. Some more equations to solve. A question came up from another student, and this first equation, we have p times p. That's going to give us p to the second power. Okay, this is not in the scope of 8th grade, so we're not going to do that one. Okay, the rest look fine. All right, so let me choose one. I'll do a couple. Let me do number 5 and number 8. Okay, so number 5. We have to do distributive property first on the right side, so everything else just stays the same. We're just going to copy it down. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 7n is positive 14n. Okay, and then from here, there's a lot of different options. I'm going to subtract 5n on both sides. Make sure you're lining everything up. So this becomes 0. Then we have 34 on the left equals negative 2. And then 14n minus 5n is positive 9n. Okay, I'm just going to bring that up over here so I can see it a little bit better. Okay, now we have the variable on the right side, so let's get rid of those other numbers. So we have a negative 2, we add 2, because we want that to become 0. So that leaves us with 36 equals 9n. Divide both sides by 9. And we get 4 equals n. Okay. So again, use the space on your paper. It's fine if you go wide instead of down. So 4 equals n for that one. How can we check our work? So we could substitute a 4 wherever there's an n in the original equation. and just use a calculator. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 34 is 54. So the question is, does that equal, then what do we get on the other side? So in the parentheses, we have negative 7 times 4, which is negative 28. 1 minus 28 is negative 27, times negative 2 is positive 54. So we're good. Okay, but again, you can always check your work, make sure that it comes out. Okay, number 8. So distributive property 2 times first. So negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x. Negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. And then 4 times 6x is 24x. 4 times 1 is 4. And the right side is just 43. Combine like terms. So we have a negative 12x and a positive 24x. We also have negative 9 and positive 4. So let's combine all that together first. So the x's, we have negative 12 and a positive 24. So that gives me 12x. And then for the numbers, we have negative 9 and positive 4. So that's negative 5 or minus 5. That equals 43. Variables on the left, let's get rid of those other numbers. That becomes 0, which is what we want. So we get 12x equals 48. Divide both sides by 12. We get x equals 4. Again, you can plug it right back into these two spots, multiply it out, add inside the parentheses, and then multiply by the number in front of the parentheses, and see if all of that equals 43. Okay, so that's it for solving equations. The last part is just a multiplication. 250 times 19. Okay, so this should be a review from 4th grade or so. All right, so just multi-digit multiplication. 9 times 0, 0. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 2 is 18. Plus 4 is 22. And that is 0. So 1 times, so it's just writing the same thing down here. Make sure everything is lined up, which is the biggest mistake that most students make, is not keeping the place values lined up. So again, you can just use a calculator if you're not sure, if you're not confident. So 250 times 19, 4,750. All right, use models or visuals. Okay, think about what we did for the task. You can draw it out like that. You can make an array like you did when you first learned multiplication. You can make 19 boxes and put 250 in each of those boxes. That would be a visual. That would show that that you have 4,750 of these things. Okay, and then write a story. Okay, it's up to you, but maybe there's 250 people at a party and the admission fee is $19, or you gave each of those people 19 tickets or 19 cupcakes. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's completely free as to how you want to write that story. Okay, so this is the end of day 2.